In our previous na video, we have computed the average, pairwise averages of three numbers. So we wrote a function named compute average that accepts two numbers with type double. So once it computes the average, it returns this computed na value or the average to the caller. So in this case, the function was main. However, not every function returns a value. So a function whose job is to produce an output only may not have to return anything. So, and in order for us to indicate that a certain function doesn't return any value, we have to specify that its return type is void. Okay, so we have mentioned in our previous videos that the formal syntax of defining a function is that you have a function name, but you have to specify also before its return type, like double or integer. So in this case, we don't need to return any value. So we have to, instead of putting double or int, we will be specifying that it is void. Okay, so let's have an example. So we want to print the message at t minus n and counting, where n is supplied when the function is called. So n is n is the argument that we will supply to the function that will be printing the message t minus n and counting. Okay, so here's the source code. So this is our function void print underscore count, and then we have the parameter n. So, and then we have specified that it is void. So this void is the return type because it returns nothing. And the n is the parameter that we supply to the print count function. So that this n is the value that will be printed by your printf. Okay, so this will replace this %d in your printing task, right? So and then in order for us to use this print count function, we have to call this function. So we have the print count and then supplying here the value that will be copied by your print count. So this I will be the value of n. Okay, so this is a function call and n copies the values of. You have a loop that will iterate for 10 times. So this print count function will also be called 10 times. All right, so yeah. So initially, we know that your I has a value of 10. So when the print count is called for the first time, I is copied into n. So now the n will take the value of 10. As a result, the first call of print count will print t minus 10 and counting. Okay, so on the next iteration of your loop, so your I will now be equal to 9. So that value will be the value that will be supplied to your print count. And then this will repeat until such time that your I is now 0. Okay, so after your print count has printed this statement t minus certain value and counting, it will now return to the point which it was called. So this print count na function was called from your main na function, so it will also return to main. So in this case, your print count returns to the point where it was called, which happens to be the body of your for na statement. So your for statement will resume to where it left off, decrementing I to 0 and testing whether it is greater than 0. All right, so here's the expected na output, t minus 10 and counting until it reaches t minus 1 and counting. So remember that each print count is called, I is different. So print count will print 10 different na images.